Descriptive responding. A part of the workshop is exploring new strategies and developing new skills in the writing process. One way is to work with your colleagues, your fellow classmates, in descriptive responding. When you're working on a piece of writing, you may want to hold off receiving any criticism for a while, but you'd still like some feedback to find out how your work is coming across to a reader. Oftentimes, your readers can give you ideas about how to rethink and reshape your work. Think of your reader as an ally, a co-writer. The first type of revision we're going to focus on is internal, for you, for the writer. It's an opportunity for you to think about, look at your draft and decide what's working for you. As you read it out loud, what do you hear that works or that doesn't work? And you can cross out wrong words, words that are used too often. You can check phrases, sentences. Some people call it slash and burn. Feel free to X out and cross out as you read through the page. Edit as you read out loud. The second type of revision is external, and that's for the audience. The focus on the audience is important early on in the writing process because, after all, writing is a way to communicate. And you need to write with the idea in mind that the writer really needs you to explain thoroughly, to provide details that show and that support your argument, your ideas, what you're trying to convey. And one way to do this is to, again, to think of the reader, the listener, as a colleague, as a co-writer. And this descriptive responding is a non-judgmental way to do that. For the purposes of this exercise, there are 4 techniques that you as the reader, listener can use as you work, as you listen, as you read a piece that will help you focus the writer, give feedback to the writer on what's working and what's not working. And there are very specific ways that you can do this. The first is pointing. Which words, phrases, or features of the writing do you find most striking or memorable? Which do you like the best? Which stands out? What works? What doesn't work? Do you hear action verbs? Do you find very specific nouns? Do you hear some repetition, some techniques, metaphors that really help create a picture in your mind of what the writers are trying to accomplish? The second is summarizing. What do you hear the piece saying? What's the main message or meaning of the work? In other words, if you were to synthesize it down, to boil it down to a sentence or two and a couple main points, what would they be? What's the point? What's the author's message? A third way to listen is to listen for what's almost said or implied. What's not quite coming into focus yet? What do you think the writer is going to say as you listen, but doesn't? What could be developed more? What ideas seem to hover around the edges that could be brought in to sharpen the focus? What do you end up wanting to hear more about? And a fourth technique is the idea of looking for finding the generative center. And what we mean by this is, what is the source of energy of the piece? What's the guiding light? The center might not be the main point or thesis. Sometimes it's an image, a phrase, a detail, or even a digression that seems to give special weight or life to the piece.